again. We're back with some more devotionals for you. Today's devotional comes out of the book of Hebrews, chapter 3. The story is 7 through 19, and I encourage you reading the entire story, but the devotional we'll focus in on right now is verses 12 and 13. I'll let you take a second to get to that. Verse 12 goes like this. See to it, brothers and sisters, that none of you have a sinful, unbelieving heart that turns away from the living God. But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. There's an insurance commercial that I used to like back in the day. I don't know if it still runs on TV, but it makes fun of the genre of horror films. You see this group of people running away from who is trying to kill them, and they see a running car. And the girl in the show is like, why don't we get in the running car and just leave? She says something along those lines. And the whole group decides later with someone else saying, let's go hide behind the chainsaws. And, the joke of how ridiculous that decision is made me laugh. But it also makes me look at my life and the decisions I make and the ridiculousness of some of those as well. This passage in Hebrews is telling us some truths about living as a community. What it's doing is telling us not to ignore the dangers of sin. So often on our own, we let sin creep into our lives and take over. What this verse tells us, what sin does to us, is it hardens our hearts and turns us away from the living God. So often has that happened in my life. But this passage is telling us and teaching us one important lesson about community. We need to encourage one another along our walk with God. We cannot keep from temptation and sin on our own. We need the Lord and we need one another to follow him. When the people of God ignore those warning signs, when they ignore the people around them entering sin, when they ignore in their own lives sin taking over, our hearts hardening, when they ignore those facts, the people of God throughout history and today as well, including myself, find themselves in some dangerous situations without God. The reality that this is telling us is, if it is a day that we characterize as today, go out and encourage one another. Encourage them to fix their eyes upon God so that sin and our hearts can stay soft for him. Today, because it is a day we call today, go out and encourage someone to fix their eyes on Jesus.